Hello, and welcome to Livres Canada Books Export Market Webinar, Exporting to China. I'm Christy Doucette, Senior Programs Manager at Livres Canada Books, and today we'll be looking at the best strategies to approach the Chinese market for the sale of rights and finished products, as well as how to build and maintain the different partnerships involved in selling books into China. The presentation should take about 60 minutes, and we'll have a question period at the end of the session. We'll be taking questions via the Q&A box found at the right-hand part of your screen. Feel free to submit questions throughout the webinar, and we'll collect them at the end. You will also receive a copy of the presentation following the event and can access the recording of today's event on our website in about a week's time. If you encounter any problems or have questions relating to the WebEx platform, please message me as the host via the chat function found at the right-hand part of your screen. I am pleased to introduce our presenter, Xinyi Tan. Originally from Chengdu, China, Xinyi Tan holds a dual master's degree in book marketing and international trade with emerging countries from Paris University 13, France. Before settling in Montreal, Xinyi Tan lived in France, where she worked for l'édition Larousse as editor and translator, and the Agence littéraire Chantal Galtier-Roussel as literary agent, and l'Asiathèque as a project assistant for professional training. She is currently the representative and consultant of Les Éditions de la Montagne Secrète in Quebec for foreign rights in China, and has also acted as a consultant for Livres Canada Books. So now, welcome, Xinyi, and thanks for joining us. I'll turn over the mic to you, and so that we can get started.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Christy. So we'll start today's seminar. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to listen to me. And first, just to give you an overview, with almost 1.4 billion people in China, China is the largest market in the world. Its power and influence have for a long time been disregarded by Western publishers. However, more and more people discover the Chinese market and the possibility of publishing in China could bring them. So, China's population is not only the largest of the world, but is undergoing major changes. These changes makes even more attractive. Sociological trends, just as the fast-growing urbanization and the strong economic result in a strong and educated middle class. These people are eager for Western titles, but also cultivative in Chinese literature. Also, the recent abandonment of the one-child policy is expected to further boom the population. The sociological findings are also supported by numbers, and which we will show you in the presentation. So for today's presentation, we'll talk in the six topics. Okay, the first is overview book market. The second is children's book. And third is how to promote in China. Also followed by the to talk about who's reading in China, and also how to enter the Chinese publishing market. The last one is the key publisher. So we'll start with the first one. So we're going to, as you see, can we show the, so here you see that it's a very, very nice picture. It's a new library in Tianjin, and it's a province next, it's a very large city next to Beijing, and this new library, you can see it's huge and very modern, and with 1.2 million books. Okay, the next one, the China Book and Periodical Distribution Association reviewed a total turnover of $55 billion US for the Chinese book market in 2018. So in 2018, the increase in the overall book market's value of 11.3% over to 2017. China achieved a position as one of the world's biggest market for books, like everything else. China's internet giant Alibaba also published his report, says there were 30 million additional readers appeared in 2018, mostly among those born in the 1990s and 2000. Those people they buy like average of 5.5 printed books, but in this demographic e-book, there were preferred reading. E-book is their preferred reading format. Also, this report tells us that China at the end of 2018, there are like 225,000 bookstores. It's more 4.3% more than 2017. According to the paper, the revitalization of the bookstore in China was largely due to the favorable policy since 2016. The Chinese book market. Okay, here we show some stats in the. You can see where are the. Okay, just hold on. There are the. According to the Alibaba book, the developed coast province on the east, okay, and cities still have the highest proportion of readers in China, and like the most is from Guangdong province, count for 11.5%, and the Jiangsu and Zhejiang province ranking the second and third, and in the central city, among the central city, Henan, Hebei, and Hubei are the top rating provinces. On the west side, Sichuan has merged as a leader, account for 4.6% of the rating population. Okay, so here we show some stats. This statistics is from Open Book. Okay, so, and this is the statistics until July 1st, 2018, and for in this data, okay, is represent some 50% of the total sales activity in China. Open Book draw point to sales data from more than 6,000 bookstores in China, include a total 3,496 physical bookstore representative of all the provinces in China except Tibet, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. And the retail outlets include traditional bookstores, supermarkets, campus bookstore, professional stores, said to be small stores with a specific industrial or trade focus. Also include the airport store. In addition, Open Book is drawing data from online bookstore of three main platforms. The Tmall store of Alibaba. Tmall is described as a marketplace of companies that create storefront online to sell product, including books. And the second one is the Jingdong store. Okay, with the web is jd.com. It's similar to Tmall as a marketplace for of both individual companies and bookstore operated by jd.com. And also 10 independent online book selling retailers. Okay, you can see in 2018, the variety books sold on the market was 1.89 million. The overall sales growth from January to June 2018 was 2.53% compared to 2017, the same period. And sales in the first half of 2018 was 1.6 million. And you can see in this chart the value of the China's retail book market reached 13.2 billion US, which is 89.4 billion RMB yuan, according to Beijing Open Books research. From 2007 to 2017, the entire book retail market grew steadily And in 2017, the book retail market growed by 14.55% year-on-year, with a total sales volume of 80 billion yuan. The growth rate in the first half of 2018 has dropped, but is still above 10%. Okay, so now we're talking about the overseas author. Okay, according to the open book, from the first half of the 2018, the overseas authors book market has been getting bigger, and profitabilities of single work has increased. Okay, and for the best-selling book of overseas author, in the first half of 2018, the fiction category, there are 55 from overseas authors in top 100, and non-fiction category, there are 45 overseas authors work in the top 100, and 54 overseas author of children's book in top 100. This is to give a good idea for the author, if there's any in the audience. Okay, and so here from this chart you can see the proportion of foreign works by country in China's market. Okay, like the largest one is U.S. and followed by UK, and then Japan, France, Germany, and Canada counts like 1% in the total sales. And in the variety side, it's still the same sequence. US is the first, and the UK, Japan, France, but Canada is like 2%. Okay, so in this page you can see the proportion of the foreign works by sector in Chinese market, and the children's book is the total sales of children's book is 40%, and then followed by literature 18%, then and academic culture is 7%. Also, people are very interested in the economic and management, also self-help books. In the variety, it's almost the same sequence. There's the children's book, the varieties takes like 34%, literature 14%, etc. You can read from the slide. Okay, here you can see the children's book. The children's book in Chinese market, it's really very important. It takes a big portion. There's like 26.25%. It's children's books sold, and followed by the social science. It's more than 24%, and then teaching material, literature, novel, etc. Okay. And here is in the 2018 Open Book reports the best. You can see the chart is the bestseller in the contribution of the bestseller in 2018 in the total sales, and also the strength of the backlist title. In 2018, Open Book reports that the Chinese market saw a sharp continuance of backlist popularity among consumers over new titles. Here to show you the best-selling author in China in 2018. It's the author's name is Yang Hongying, and she has been. It's from Tomorrow Publishing House, and since 2000, Yang Hongying has worked. Her work has become best-selling children's book, including title from the Writer's Campus novel series, the Naughty Boy Ma Xiaotiao series, and the Diary of a Smelly Cat. And this Tomorrow Publishing House is also very active to buy titles from overseas. And the foreigner, the Japanese author Higashino Keigo remains far and away the best-selling author of fiction book in 2018, and almost all his book was translated in Chinese, except the most recent two. It's very popular. And here you can see it's the list of the best sellers in 2018. It's also from the open book data. Okay, and on the left side is all the you can see there's the nonfiction bestseller, and on the right side is the fiction. Okay. Okay, the next page is the foreign authors, the nonfiction and fiction bestsellers, and you can see there's a lot from United States and also Japan and British Columbia, England, and yeah, and also Colombia. Okay, next. So now we talk about the sales channel. The sales channel. Okay, and the new trend in the industry is the bookstore plus mode, renews the vitality of physical bookstore and leads the experiential cultural consumption. From the perspective of channel, the offline physical bookstore have shaken off negative growth and are moving towards positive growth. In 2017, the total sale volume of physical bookstore was 34.42 billion yuan, an increase of 2.38% compared with 2016. In 2017, the total sales volume online was 45.9 billion yuan, an increase of 25.75% compared with 2016. Although the physical bookstore sales is still difficult to compete with online bookstore, the growth of physical bookstore has also confirmed the irreplaceable of the physical bookstore in the offline experience. The Chinese book retail market continues to improve in 2018. Entities, the sales of store and online store, the offline and online store both increased by more than 20% than the previous years. You see here is some figures. So it shows the sales is increasing in either in volume or the variety, and Alibaba offers a further breakdown. Compare with their elders or young Chinese born in 1990s and 2000 prefer e-books to over printed book. 46% of e-book readers are people born in the 1990s. People aged 18 to 32 count for more than 60% of users on Tmall's e-reading app. The peak time of reading books on cell phone is from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Fictions and success literature and books in social science and the humanity are the most popular book type for e-reading, while for traditional reading, people turn to children's literature, textbooks, or supplemental material, picture books, magazine, and journal. The year 2018 also saw a boom in sales, swapped or given away of used books. Data from Alibaba showed that over the past year, Guangdong residents trade or gave away 1.59 books per person on average, which is the most in China, followed by Shanghai residents with 1.11 books and Beijing residents with 1.08 books. Given it's a report from China Daily. Given its 1.4 billion population and its 800 million internet user, this addition of 30 million readers, something a book market like U.S. Operating at near saturation point can only dream of is entirely pleasure. But the request it's plausible. It's entirely plausible. But the real question is, could this be just the tip of the iceberg? Alibaba is certainly a major player in China book market, but it's not the only player. In terms of ebooks and online literature sales, Alibaba literature is generally recognized as coming second to Tencent's China literature, which was spun off last year for 1.1 billion IPO. Okay, so here you can see the traditional rating, the bookstores, how many the numbers in each year, the ranking, and so like you can see the in the 2017 numbers. Okay, the major city, the first line city and second line city, like Chengdu or those city has most of the bookstores, and you can see the numbers. Okay, so you can see there's the 2018 the first column. Sorry, there's a mistake. It's 2018 quantity. Okay, and you can see it's increased, all increased compared to the 2017. Okay, so now talk about the digital reading. Okay, you can see the popular category in e-reading is the success motivations, human social science, teaching material, and novel. And the traditional reading is more in the children's book, technical material, social science and art, and novel also. Okay, so in the e-reading, the three most important platform is Dangdang, Amazon, and Jingdong. Dangdang is the largest e-book distribution site and the first to enter the market is in 2011. Dangdang holds 29% of the market. It sells its own e-reader and merges e-book sales service and Amazon China is the second largest distributor with 27% of the market share. Long announced and postponed, the launch of the Kindle in China took place in June 2013. The third one is the Jingdong is the largest online store of electronic products and has now opened a digital bookstore. He's the third distributor, online distributor. He leads an increasingly offensive strategy. And you can see, yeah. And there's other store like Wenxuan, Buku, and Suning. They are all opened the online bookstore. Okay. And the majority of the ebook readers read via, like we mentioned, is via their cell phone, and this more accessible than a reader. In China, people like 30% of the Chinese mobile phone owners, so they read ebook on it. And the digital copyrights in China are in their infancy. Although major ebook platforms and mobile operators ensure the use of the digital rights management, and Chinese readers are used to downloading their book for free, including on the Baidu library site and the iShare platform of the Sina portal site. Baidu, however, is making effort to regularize his practice. There are organizations that focus on the protection of the digital rights, such as the Chinese Online Anti-Piracy Union. Yeah. Okay. So on this page, you can see the most visited online bookstore in China, and there's the link on the right. You can try. Okay. And this is the most visited online bookstore, and you see there's the Amazon on in the first, and so yeah, and on the Amazon side there's the also you can see the sales situation there. There's yeah, there's the list of the most selling books. Okay, so now we are going to the second section, is the children's book in China. There, in China, there are 220 million children under 14 years old, and the rapid growth of the middle class population. I think from the stats before, you can see they are the largest group who spend money on the education. Many professionals in China's publishing industry holds optimistic attitude towards the future of the children's book. And after the controversial 1989, 40 years, and also the 40 years of the one-child policy expired in 2016. It enhanced people's belief that the next decade would be a real golden age for children's book in China. Since the number of children born is slated to increase by 3 to 8 million from the current 16 million. During the Beijing Book Fair, 2018, children's publications, especially picture book, are one of the most attractive category for both visitors and publishers. As China is a growing children's book consumer, at the Beijing Book Fair, which is the world's second largest international book fair. Many overseas exhibitors featured a range of children's reading material, mostly picture books, hope to achieve or expand the cooperation with their Chinese counterparty on copyright trading. In 2016, children's books market in China grew by over 28% compared to 2017, and okay, and also the children's book have been a main growth-driven driver for China's book market, as more parents are willing to pay for high-quality books for a better education. We are going to accentuate the children's book sector because this is the sector with the largest growth rate and the largest growth rate of the book retail market in the past decade. The overall growth rate of books is 8% to 10%, and the average growth rate of children's book reached 20% in China. The industry generally believes that children's book will experience the next golden decade. Chinese publishers are responding to a growing market, fueled by the rising number of middle-class parents with money to spend on pleasure reading, and the growth trend is still relatively good. Some reason for this is first, post-80s and 90s generation, which is the educated generation. They're becoming parents, and their children's education is very important. The state exhorts all people to read, children's are reading. Children's reading section did the best. Emphasize on education is the most important driving force. After the opening of the second child policy, the Chinese population can maintain a relatively stable growth. The growth of children's book is closely relative to the increase of the future birth rate and the increase in the number of children. The and multicultural story matters. Okay, like the parents wants to give the push towards the diversity and wide representation in children's book today, in order to know better and learn from Western social education. Says by being editor-in-chief of Jili Publishing House. These parents tend to have a better understanding of the importance of early childhood education and reading, are more willing to spend their discretionary income on books, and choose to be more actively involved in their children's education and development. And they also say that their heightened awareness of the complex social and emotional development in children and young adults is also creating a new market for publications that address this very issue. And also the Ho Mingliang, the president of Kids Media, during an interview with Terry Tan, the journalist of Publisher Weekly, says that most of the novelty title, picture books, and pop-ups for the younger age groups is in the Chinese book market are imported, which means that children are growing up reading about the way things are done overseas, not in China. And import restriction. Okay, a lot of people have the question about it. And overseas headlines about a restriction on foreign publications to prevent ideology inflow had many Chinese children's book publishers scratching their head. For a number of years, it seems like every award-winning book in the United States was instantly translated into Chinese, says Junko Yokota, a director of the Center for Teaching Through Children's Book and also professor emeritus at National Louis University. And he also said now the Chinese government is saying we need to grow our own children's literature. So the restriction of the CIP, the cataloging in publication numbers, may have been explained the following reason: the Chinese publisher will ponder the limited CIP resource, give them to import product or original titles from China. And Chinese book market still advocates originality rather than import blindly. And it takes around 2 weeks to get a CIP number. Okay, in China, in the Chinese book market, the most active publishing group or a private publisher for a children's book importation. At the present, okay, there are 556 publishers with children's book publishing business. The top 10 publisher in terms of market share, the contribution rate of children's book is also rising, and the contribution rate of children's book in 2017 reaches 10.32%. In addition, more than half of the professional children's publishing house have entered the top 100 in the publishers. They are all presented at most important the book fairs. Okay, and the children's book in China, here you can see the most active publishing group or private publisher for children's book importation. So here with all the names and also their website links. Okay, so now let's talk about the how to promote in China. Okay, so you see here we have some book fairs. Those are must-see fairs. So there's the Beijing International Book Fair. There's the Bologna Children's Book Fair, and also there's one in U.S. the Book Expo America, and also some in Europe. About the Beijing International Book Fair. This is the industry's most important meeting point for a Chinese publisher. The book fair in 2018 has over 2,500 exhibitors and more than 300 titles on display in 2018. For Chinese customers, the annual Beijing Book Fair is the most important time of the year to make book purchase. And also it's the perfect forum for overseas customers to learn about the latest in exporting books to China, while also fostering communication between China and foreign academy publishing expert. The Bologna, also I would like to mention the Bologna Children's Book Fair. This is the largest and certainly the most important international trade show and book fair dedicated to children's book, especially illustrated books, which travel across national border perhaps more easily than any other category. A lively international exchange is a given, and what happens each year in Bologna has outsized influence on global children's publishing. Yeah, and also there's other fairs, so are also very important to attend, like those in Frankfurt and London, as most of the active Chinese publisher will be there. And so let's talk about the literary agency. Let me give you some example of the active agencies on the market, and also I will talk about the positioning and the key roles and how to collaborate. And one of the big agencies, the Big Apple Agency. It was founded in 1987 by Ms. Lily Chen and Dr. Luke Quanton, and was known as Big Apple LTC Consulting. When the late Tom Mori acquired a minority share in the agency in December 1989, the company changed its name to Big Apple Total Mori Agency Inc. and started representing foreign property enterprises around the world in the Chinese language market in both mainland China, which use simplified Chinese, and Taiwan, which reads in traditional Chinese. In 2012, with the expansion into the Southeast Asian territories, include Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, the company name was officially changed to Big Apple Agency Inc. Another very important agency is the Barden Chinese Media Agency. It licensed European, US, and Japanese copyrights in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. The agency is an independent company incorporated in Taiwan. The agency promotes and negotiates and licenses literary rights, Chinese translation and English reprinting right, serializations, permits, photos, syndication, audio, video, and on behalf of its clients in North America, Europe, and Japan. And their clients include HarperCollins publisher, a Penguin Group, edition Gallimard in France. Okay, so and there's others like Rito. Rito Media is an aggressive rights agency engaged in Chinese publishing market as a leading rights agency in China and a standing council member of the Copyright Society of China. It provides traditional publishing house and internet-based publisher with efficient, professional, reliable rights agent service. CA Link International is an international rights agency specialized in representing American and European book publisher and selling translation rights into mainland China and Taiwan market. Headquartered in the U.S., the company also has a branch office in Beijing. This agency, their positioning and their key roles, each publisher, okay, whether owned by the state or privately owned, is a commercial enterprise, which opens many opportunities for the placement of foreign editors in the Chinese market. The literary agency are able to dispel the confusion and propose following advantages. Okay, even large publishers are always waiting to contact large publishers directly. These agencies, they have the in-depth knowledge of the Chinese market, and they can help you to do the price negotiation. It will save your time and effort. Small publisher who do not participate in book fairs, it's hard to find through online research. Okay, so they can help you give you an updated and informed address book about the publisher and other publishing house. A good relationship with, and they can help you to build a good relationship with Chinese publisher. There are two types of agency in China. Government agency that represent as they present as a private, like the China National Publication Import and Export Corporation, and which we mentioned in the import section, which represent the interest of Chinese publisher. Then the agency Foreign Rights in China, which generally represent publisher, not author. Okay, more than 50% of the translated books published in China are represented by agency. Present in China, agency needs to participate in different local salon and numerous conference. He is aware of the trends, whether they are instilled by the state or come from the market. The local agent can also monitor market movement and find out how many books are sold. Publishers need a reliable and experienced partner in China. If you decide to do work with a agency, you have to do a follow-up regularly and present the catalog and establish an effective communication channel. Yep. So, how to promote in China? Okay, you have to have the promotional and marketing tools and use the social media to have. Like China is hungry for knowledge. Chinese do not read Chinese people do not read anymore just to relax. They also read to learn. They read to acquire knowledge that they will become more efficient and to have added value on the labor market. Understanding what works and what doesn't, we need to prepare our target catalog for Chinese market needs. Sometimes a cultural difference within a story can make or break an important title. It is recommended to do a thorough market study and go on site to know the business environment, especially create your own network. if you want to succeed in the Chinese market, then you need to be aware of the difference when it comes to the to be localized. To be present and also need to be present on the Chinese forum, press relations, and have a website, sales sheet accessibly by all Chinese in Mandarin with a qualified translator. Example of the marketing tools in China, okay, which is very popular in China, it's the WeChat, and you can see it's the logo, the little logo on the left bottom side. WeChat has grown to become the most popular social and mobile app in China, which it has over 1.1 billion registered accounts. We can create a company account that publishes information and publications of the company regularly. WeChat offers a completely seamless mobile-first consumer experience where brand can increase awareness and loyalty. When you are promoting, okay, remember to protect your branding and your trade market, which is very important. Canadian Intellectual Property Office, Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada can offer relevant advice. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to consult a specialist for the development of book market in China, which is a very unique sector. So now we're going to talk about who reads in China and where are the readers. Okay. So here's the analysis gathered from the following report. It's from Alibaba, from Amazon China, Dangdang, and Tmall, which we already talked about previously. Okay, so who's the most readers are from the post 80s and 90s generation. They are become the key force of the Chinese reading power and count for 38% and 37% respectively. On the other hand, compared with 2017, the reading population increased by 30 million in 2018. The book orders increased 17%. According to the chart on the left, the strongest number of readers are born in the 80s and 90s. However, there is increasing of growth in the number of readers born post 80s and 90s. There are two kinds of reading: traditional and digital reading. Readers born in 60s, 70s, 80s prefer paper book, and readers born post 90s and 2000 prefer digital reading. And as we are in an era of fragmentation in terms of type of reading, post 90s and 2000, they are they would like to read ebook with a relatively small length, such as the successful inspirational, human and social science, and novel. For post 60s, 70s, and 80s, they prefer to read the paper book with in-depth literature and art, social science. And in this, you can see you can see the proportion of the age group. Okay, the most reading. This is for about the traditional reading. Okay, you can see it's the people age group of 24 to 30 years old. There's like 35.6% in the coastal city on the east. This is a number from 2017, and after it follows by the group of 31 to 35 years old, and you can see there's a 69% of women read and 31% of men from this. Yeah. Okay, and here it's the digital rating. Here, digital rating, it's also so the most readers are from 24 to 30 years old, and the 31 to 34 years old, there's like 19.8%. Okay, and you see it, where are the readers? Okay, it's kind of similar. Where are the bookstores? It's a kind of similar map. Okay, and the top 10 cities. Okay, and six of them is in the coastal on the east, and four is in the Midwest area. Um, the regional reading gap continues to narrow, and the paper book consumption potential is in the central and western province continue to narrow as well. And the income and book consumption are in direct proportion. It's a very important indicator. For low income, the blue collars to high income yellow collars, they can find the higher income. We can find the higher income, the larger book purchasing volume. Okay, so let's talk about how to enter the Chinese publishing market. Okay, the reports from Xinhua News, the first half of 2018, the export and import books of book copyrights in China has increased. The report by China Publishing Regulator, the State Administration of Press and Publication, says that the country has exported 10,670 book copyrights in 2017, increased 28%, which is 8,328 more than 2016. And China has imported more than 17,000 book copyrights, which increased 3%, about 16,500 from the previous year. The report also says in 2017, China exported 21.7 million copies of publications, which include books, newspaper, and journals, and imported 32.6 million publications. Over 5.4 million copies of children's book were exported in the same year. Okay. Okay. There's okay, the different ways is okay, wait, just the different ways of exporting books, selling rights, partnership with the local publisher. Okay, there's a different ways to go to come into China. Those are the different ways. Foreign publishers are not allowed to distribute or sell their book directly into China. According to statistics from the State Administration and Press Publication, Radio, Film, and Television, which is SEPRES. It's called the SAPREFT. And the Chinese publisher acquired 15,542 titles in 2014. Almost half of them came from UK and US. And the Canadian publisher represents only 1%. Some big publishers, as Penguin Random House, has already established a subsidiary through the joint venture model in China. But for most small to medium-sized foreign publishers, selling rights might be a more practical way to approach the Chinese market, as there is restrictions over foreign ownership in publishing. Otherwise, a example for a children's book, we can also develop a co-publishing project with a local publisher, which we can develop the contents together with a shared financial contribution for the publication. And about the book, the pricing, okay, in China, except the school book books priced by the government, publisher can freely decide the price of their books. The price range are variable, but it's generally established, estimated by that the average price of between 20 to 60 yuan a book, or we can, if we talk about it in euros, it's 2.5 to some 7.4 euros. There's no pricing system, but the price is usually printed on the back of the cover. And in China, the VAT rate, the tax is applicable to the book is 13%. And there are many factors affect the number of prints, about the size of the publisher, and the main business orientation, distribution channel, the influence of the author, whether it's a famous writer or not, whether there's a cooperating institution or their marketing method, all affect the numbers of the prints. The publisher has its own comprehensive considerations, and they need to consider the cost, manpower, material cost, and how many pages, also if it's color or monochrome, and also the post promotion cost and estimated, and also the very detailed editing input, auto estimated, and also if it's digitized. These are all the facts for the print number of prints. And in addition, the number of prints will be linked also to the cost of the books. For example, full color books and black and white books are not the same. The full color book printed 2,000 copies may be more expensive than 3 copies of the black and white book. This has to be very case by case oriented. And when we talk about the children's book, and children's books are divided into encyclopedia and the picture books. Therefore, the numbers of prints really needs to be refined. And also the ordinary books, the minimum has to be printed in 3,000 copies. Bestsellers, the minimum is 10,000 copies. Academic printing volume is start from 1,000 copies. Literature, social science start from 5,000 copies if they are a popular theme or a popular writer's work. We suggest to analyze all the factors that determine the number of prints rather than listing the specific numbers or of printing in each category, because this will be very inaccurate. About the book distribution. The book distribution is organized around 3 main categories. The three big organization. Okay, the first is the National Xinhua Bookstore Network. Xinhua Bookstore is the largest and only countrywide bookstore chain brand in China. And the second channel is the private distributor. For example, the private bookstore have relied on their internal design, and like the decoration or coffee space, to create a pleasant reading and shopping atmosphere. And the third channel is the online distributor. The publisher are responsible for the diffusion and distribution of their book, generally subcontracting the transportation and storage. When the publisher is part of an editorial group, this will ensure the distribution of all his books which pass through Xinhua, but also by online distributor and some large significant private bookstore. Concerning the school books, the publisher sell their textbook directly to the customers. The distribution system is quite complex in China. when negotiating an agreement between foreign and Chinese publishers, it is advisable to ask and study the following, like what are the distribution channels that the Chinese publisher use, and what is the publisher's culture for putting promotional tools in place, and what about prepare a marketing development plan to know the events such as launching of novelty, news release, writer conference, etc. Canadian publisher need a reliable distribution channel in Chinese market, and the Chinese partner should have the willingness to put extra effort in the creation, printing, and the distribution of our books. Okay, so we're now let's talk about the key players. Okay, the key players. According to the statistics of Dangdang, the second best online selling site in China, this is an insight to give you an idea of the publishers who have published the best sellers for children's book in China in 2018 for all categories. And you can see those are those are the best sellers. Those are the publishers. This page you can see the best the publishers who sold the most books. Okay, and this one. This is the number of the best-selling top 500 books in 2018. This chart shows that the distribution of China's publishers in the top 500 bestsellers in all categories such as the children's book, novel, biography, history, training, and science. Okay. And here, and after that, it's all the reference where we got all our data and the stats, and if you are interested. To succeed in exporting books to China, it requires not only editorial competence, but the sense of multicultural communication and business knowing how to diversify and broaden horizons. It will be necessary to go on site, okay, to make a thorough market study of the sector concerned, to decipher the needs of the readers, and to be you can preserve yourself, to know the rival, and to have a long-term partner on the spot who know how to give to your the authentic value. So now I give the back to Christy. Thank you for listening. Do you have any
questions? Thank you. We can now open the floor for questions. If you have a question, please feel free to type it down in the Q&A box that's found at the right-hand part of your screen. We'll go ahead and read them off and answer them right away. Let me start off by asking, is it common or beneficial to have excerpts translated into Mandarin for submission of a Canadian title?
Yeah, it is not common, but certainly beneficial to translate promotional material into Mandarin. Depends on the publication area. The need would be different.
And so, would you say there's significant differences between the publishers based in Beijing versus Shanghai?
Yes, there. Yeah. the majority of the publishers are in Beijing, and also the distributor. We also talked about standard of living and consumption of the population has a big impact on the purchase of books. Between Shanghai and Beijing, there's also different at this level. Shanghai people love to read, okay, not only in the overall reading index ranking, but also ranked second in the countries in the country after Beijing. And in the humanistic rate, quality of life, innovation potential, like economic vitality, and education on education sublist. Shanghai also located in the top 3 of the 4 sublist.
Great. And now there's the Shanghai Book Fair as well. So we have a question here. Do you recommend any particular agents to work with in China for fiction?
Yes. Okay. I think the okay. So on top of my head, I don't know which one is the best for this. They are all very good, but I can do some research and send you the list after to Christy.
Fantastic. And for publishers of children's books, is there something specific about China's tastes in terms of content and illustration style that we should consider as Canadians?
They're very similar, and in China they look for the original content and creative illustrations.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see that's the end of the questions at the moment. If you have any burning questions that you think of after the event and would like for me to pass them on to Xinyi, feel free to email me at cdoucet@livrescanadabooks.com. And as we've now come to the end of our webinar, I'd like to thank Xinyi Tan for such a comprehensive overview of the Chinese publishing market. I'd also like to thank the Canada Book Fund component of the Government of Canada for the financial support for this event. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.